Welcome students to our lecture on fibers for composite. We will be continuing with the unit 4, which is the fabrication of composites. The topic of today's discussion is on pultrusion molding. And before going into pultrusion molding, we will just see a small glimpse of the previous lecture. In our previous lecture, I have spoken about blow molding process, the working principle, process parameters involved, advantages and disadvantages, and then application. Blow molding is a manufacturing process of composite to make the hollow plastic parts, in which you will blow the plastic until it occupies the shape of the mold to get the desired shape. You will use the Parisian. First process is the making of a Parisian. You will make the Parisian and then fit it in the mold, and then you will start injecting the air with the high pressures so that the bottle will get expanded because of the heat and the pressure, and it will occupy the shape of the mold. There are various process parameters that are involved, like melting temperature, cooling time, etc., and you will make the product. There are some advantages and disadvantages also associated with this process. It's a simple process which involves a less tooling cost, and it is used for making hollow parts especially. But there are some disadvantages also with this process. You cannot make uh, lengthy parts, or thick parts you cannot make. Applications, when it comes to applications, the applications are mostly the engineered and non-engineered items like bottles, mugs, toys, and some tanks also, small tanks also you can make from this blow molding process. So in today's discussion, we will move on to the next molding process, which is the pultrusion molding process. Coming down to the introduction on pultrusion molding, this pultrusion molding was developed around 1950 for making the fishing rods of glass fiber reinforced polymer. This is basically the historical perspective of how the process was first came into being. It was developed around 1950 for making the fishing rods. And this pultrusion is an automated continuous molding process for producing long straight structural members of constant or uniform cross sectional area. If you want to produce a long straight structural members, then for this only molding process that you can use is the pultrusion molding. The major constituent in a pultruded product is longitudinally oriented continuous strand drawings. When it comes to the manufacture of composite, the broad principle is you will use a fiber and you will use a matrix, and mixing of this both will lead to the formation of a composite. Fiber is the reinforced phase and matrix is the bulk phase, which will actually use for giving support to the fibers. So here the major constituent in the pultruded product is the longitudinally oriented continuous strand drawings. So that is the reinforced phase. Several layers of mats or woven drawings are added at near the outer surface to improve its traverse strength. You need not use only the drawings, you can use mats also, or woven drawings are also for this pultrusion molding process, which we will see. What is the working principle of this process? From the name itself, it implies pultrusion. This combines the words pull and extrusion. If you just exclude the word pull, then it is only the extrusion process. Extrusion means like a normal melt spinning process which you have learned from the polyester manufacturing. If you remember, in the polyester manufacturing, what do? You take the pellets of the polymers and then heat it in the extruder, like a screw extruder, which will start pushing the polymer melt, and because of the heat the pellets get melted and that will be pushed towards the exit of the die, and then when the melt exit from the die, you will get the filaments. But when it comes to the pultrusion process, it is opposite of that, which we will see. So extrusion is a pulling of materials such as fiberglass and resin through a shaped and heated die. The basic mechanism of pultrusion system is same as that of the metal extrusion process. In the pultrusion molding process, it is the same like a metal extrusion process, but the difference is there. Only difference is that in the extrusion process, the material is pushed through the dies. As I have told you, when you do the melt spinning, what you do, you take the polymer pellets and through the screw extruder, you melt the polymer chips, and then those polymer chips, whatever that is melted, that is pushed towards the die. But whereas in the pultrusion molding, the material is pulled through the dies. This subtle difference actually makes a process different. That is called the pultrusion molding process. What are the raw materials used for this process? The raw materials, when it comes to the reinforcement phase, you see the reinforcement type here is E-glass, S-glass, carbon fibers or graphite fibers also you can use, aramide fibers you can use, and the material form, you can use materials in the form of a roving, mat or in the fabric form. But all should be in a continuous form and not in the short fiber form. And what about the matrix? The matrix that is used is polyesters, phenolic esters, vinyl esters, and then epoxy resins. When you see all these matrices, you can understand one thing. All these matrices belongs to the thermosetting polymers. Since we need to produce a rigid type of a product from this process, we are using a thermosetting plastics or the thermosetting matrix. Now coming down to the process, before going into the process, we will first see what are the steps that are followed during the pultrusion molding process. First step is the reinforcement handling system, which is the creel. Reinforcement handling system is nothing but the fiber handling system. That is the material which is in the form of a reinforced phase. Next step is the resin impregnation system, where the matrix is present. That is the resin impregnation system. Third one is the material forming area, where the product is formed. And fourth one is the components that heat and consolidate. Once your product, you have made the material, you have to heat and consolidate the material. That is the fourth step. And fifth step is the you have to pull the pultruded product. As the name itself, it implies pultrusion. So you are going to pull the product instead of pushing it, and which you do it in the extrusion process. And equipment to cut the pultruded product, which is the culmination of the process, where you will cut the product to the required size. So before going detail into the process, first I will show you a small schematic diagram of the pultrusion process. I will explain each and every step. First, if you observe here in the left corner, you can see there are creels. Over the creels where the rovings are kept. These rovings are sent through the guided through the guided plate, where these creels through the rovings which comes from these creels are converted into the continuous strand mat. How these creels, how the rovings pass from the creels? It pass from the creels through the guided plate. With this help of the guided plate, the rovings get transformed into continuous strand mats. And once you made the continuous strand mats, which is of a high length, the next step is the resin bath. Resin bath is nothing but where the matrix is present. The continuous strand mats which comes from the creel, that gets immersed in the resin bath. So the fiber gets wetted in the resin bath, and once it gets wetted, it moves on to the next step, which is the surfacing wheel. This surfacing wheel is a particular important thing which is present here. You can see the surfacing wheel here. The use of the surface wheel is it gives some smoothness to the product, and once some smoothness is given to the product, it goes to the next step called preformer, which is shown here. Preformer is nothing but a uh, which will give some shape to the product. With the help of this preformer, you will get a proper shape to the product. And once the shape is given in the preformer is usually in the 1 or 2 or maximum 3 layers will be there, so that the continuous strand mats where it after immersion with the resin bath, and when it after it passes through the surface wheel to give some smoothness, then it moves towards the preformer to give some shape to the product. And once the shape is given, it moves on to the next step called forming and curing dye. Here also some sort of a shape is again, the final shape is given in this forming and curing dye chamber. This is actually a two things are involved here. One is the forming and another is the curing. One is the final formation of the structure and another is the curing. Both these take place simultaneously in this step, which is one of the important step here. Here whatever resin that has been absorbed by the continuous strand mats and after it transform into a shape, that will get fixed only during this forming and curing dye chamber, so that whatever resin has been absorbed by the continuous strand mats, that will get absorbed to form a polymerization. Here the curing is nothing but where the polymerization take place to give a effect, so that you actually get the polymerized product here. And once the final product is formed in the curing dye, then it moves on to the next process, which is called the pulling system, where here for the pulling system, it is nothing but the caterpillar pullers or reciprocating pullers. This is a system which is shown here. This is the pultrusion system. The pultrusion, the name of the manufacturing process comes here, where the product that is coming out from the forming and curing dye chamber, that gets pulled, and then it moves on to the final step, which is called as cut-off saw, where the product that is formed, whichever is formed and finally pulled, that will get cut into a required shape, required size, whatever we require. Depending upon that dimension, we will cut the product. This is the brief description of the pultrusion process. We will see each and every step in detail. I will show you the slide. So the continuous strand rovings and mats are pulled from one end of the line into a resin bath that contains liquid resin, curing agent, which is the initiator, and other ingredients such as colorant, ultraviolet, UV stabilizer, and fire retardant. If it is here you have seen the resin bath here, here it is not hard and fast that you have to use only the matrix. Depending upon the end use, you will add some multiple things. You will add a colorant, you will add a UV stabilizer, you will add a fire retardant also, or some other ingredient also, depending upon the end use that is required. And a curing agent also, because here we are going to cure it in the forming and curing dye section here, which is shown here. Next, the viscosity of the liquid resin, the residence time, and the mechanical action on the fibers, such as looping of the fibers in the resin bath, are adjusted to ensure a complete wet out of the fibers with the resin. The viscosity, which is very important in the resin, and the residence time, how much time the continuous strand mats are kept in the resin bath, and the mechanical action of the fibers in the resin bath, those are all very important. And those three parameters are optimized in such a way to ensure the complete wet out of the fibers with the resin. Then third point, thermoplastic polyester surfacing wheels are added to the fiber resin stream just outside the resin bath to improve the surface smoothness of the molded product. Here you can see there is a surfacing wheel which is shown here. This surfacing wheel is nothing but it is a thermoplastic polyester which is added to the fiber resin stream, just like a cover which you add it towards the product whichever that is formed. Why you are adding it? You are adding it to improve the surface smoothness of the molded product, because here once the continuous strand mats are immersed in the resin system and before it goes to forming and curing dye, where the final shaping and curing take place, Here, before that, what you do is you add some thermoplastic sheet like thing to the structure. Why you are adding it? Because you need to give some smoothness, because you do not want the product to expose it towards the outside environment, because it is looking like open system. So because of some atmospheric intervention, some surface defects may happen. So you close the product with the surfacing wheel. For all the products, the surfacing wheel may not be required. It is not hard and fast that you have to use the surfacing wheel. But for certain products where the requirement of exposure is a problem, where the exposure to atmosphere is a problem, there you have to use the surfacing wheel. Then there is another thing called preformer, which we will see now. One of the important thing. So the fiber resin stream is pulled first through a series of preformers and through a long preheated die. The preformers distribute the fiber bundles evenly, squeeze out the excess resin and bring the material into its final configuration. So here there is a presence of preformer. This preformer, the use is, it actually gives some shape. It distribute the fiber bundle evenly, it distribute the fiber bundle, it squeeze the excess resin and bring the material to the final configuration. Though the final shape take place in the forming and curing dyeing chamber, before sending into that, you are actually making an initial formation of a proper size and shape to the product, that is given by the preformers, where some two or three types of three series of preformers will be present in the process. Next is the final shaping, compaction and curing take place in the die, which has a gradually a tapering section along its length. The entrance section of the die is usually water cooled to prevent premature gelling, and rest of the die is heated in a controlled manner either by oil heater or by electrical heater. Then infrared heating has also been used to speed up the curing process. You can see a process here shown here, which is called forming and curing die. So once the product moves over to the preformer to get a proper shape where the fiber bundles are uniformly kept and it gets a uniform shape, then it moves on to the forming and curing die chamber. When before entering into this chamber, this the entrance section of the die is usually water cooled. Otherwise, what will happen? It will create some gelation or gelling problems. And here also you get actually the shape. First step is the forming of a particular shape. Here the section, you can see the shape of the section. It is a tapered section, so that once it enters the forming and curing die chamber, you will get the final shape. That is, final shape is developed in this forming and curing die. So here it does not only give the shape, it also do the curing also. So here some sort of a little pressure is involved and heat is involved, so that you will get the proper shape from this forming and curing die chamber. Next is a number of pulling rolls or blocks pull the cured pultruded member out of the die. The die temperature, die length and pulling speed are controlled to ensure that resin has cured completely before the pultruded member exits from the die. Here you can see this is the place where the curing takes place. So the die temperature and the die length and the pulling speed, these parameters are optimized, are controlled to ensure that resin has cured completely before the pultruded member exits from the die. This has to be taken care of, because this is one of the important thing that has to be performed. Otherwise, what will happen? It will create some defects in the product. So the die temperature, die length and pulling speed to be controlled. You can see the pulling system here. Once it exits from the forming and curing die chamber, then your product is almost ready. Only thing is you need to pull it and then cut it. So here you can see the pulling system here, which is the caterpillar pullers or reciprocating pullers. So a number of pulling rolls or blocks pull the cured pultruded member out of the die. This we have already seen. After cooling with air or water, it is cut into desired lengths by a diamond impregnated saw at the end of the line. This is the diamond impregnated cutoff saw, which will cut the cut the composite. That is the final profile or the final product that is made. This pulling system will pull the product. This is the line diagram which you can see. There are the creels. From creels through the guide plate, it moves to the resin bath, and there is a surfacing wheel and preformers. These are actually series of preformers, and this is the curing and forming chamber, forming and curing chamber. Then these are the pull blocks like a caterpillar or reciprocating blocks. Then finally you have the cutoff saw. This is the line diagram. Now I will show you a small video in which you can very clearly understand what is how the process happens exactly. This video is from Strongwell. You can see this is the place where the fiberglass rovings are there. So the continuous stranded mats to the resin impregnator, surfacing material, preformer, these are the reciprocating type of a pulling system, cutoff saw. Here the pull push and cap process is initiated with the pullers, reciprocating pullers. This is how the strand mats are fed here. Then here the impregnation takes place with the resin tank, and the surfacing material is added to the existing materials, and then it is pulled into a preformer, and this is the curing chamber. And here this one we have already seen the reciprocator, and this is the cutting saw, which is a diamond cutting saw to cut the product into predetermined lengths. You can see how it is cut finally. So coming down to the further discussion, we will see what are the advantages and disadvantages. This is a low cost automated system where human involvement is least, which produces high quality products. So it is a low cost automated system where the human involvement is very least. Once the rovings are kept and the program is fed, then it will automatically keep running. Near net shape can be produced. So this is one of the great advantage in this pultrusion molding process where the near net shape is produced. I hope you all may be remembering this word called near net shape, which I have already taught you during the class in the advantages of composites. You can go through that. Near net shape means the exact shape whichever is required that you can make it. So whatever fibers or matrices that you have added for manufacturing this pultruded member, that will get almost utilized for making the final product. So you will get the exact shape that is expected. Next advantage is the surface finish of the product is high as compared to the other composite processing methods. The surface finishing is very good in this process. Can fabricate extremely large parts and any transportable lengthy parts. The production rate is high as it is a continuous production process. You can, if you want to make a large and lengthy parts, that may not be possible with blow molding or hand layup molding, which you have learned previously, but it is mainly possible in the pultrusion molding. So that is a great advantage, and the production rate is very high as it is a continuous production process. It is a straightforward and simple process which does not require specific labor skills, and it has a easy handling and low maintenance, which is very advantageous, and able to produce wide variety of reinforcement types, forms and styles with many thermosetting resins and fillers. This is another advantage. You need not use only the rovings you may have. You can use a fabric or you can use a mat, and with not restricted to any particular resin, you can use a number of thermosetting resins also and fillers also. You can add it in the resin tanks. And another advantage is complex thin walled shapes can be fabricated, traditionally extruded in aluminum or PVC. Normally the aluminum or PVC, this is extruded uh, from normally from the metal extrusion process. You do the aluminum kind of metals, but here those kind of things can be produced from the pultrusion molding itself, where the complex thin walled shapes can be also fabricated. That is a great advantage. And coming down to disadvantages, the process is mainly suitable for constant cross sectional area. So here you cannot change the cross section. Once you keep a particular cross section, in that cross section only you can make the product. If you have some waviness or some change in the cross section, then that is, you cannot make some change in the cross section once the design is fixed. So it is only suitable for constant uniform cross sectional areas. Next is, it is difficult to maintain tight tolerances. That is, like a dimensional stability will not be exactly the same. This exact dimension may not be possible in this process. Next is, the quick curing systems may typically have lower mechanical properties. This is one of the great drawback in this process. As you have seen in the figure, you can see this is the place where the forming and curing take place. So it is a very small portion. At this place only the curing and forming take place. So the curing process, it takes a less time to cure. So if you want to do a quick curing, in that case you have to do some, make some compromise when it comes to the mechanical properties. You may not get the good mechanical properties when you do the quick curing. Unlike the process like hand layer process, you are using the epoxy resin where you are keeping the product for a long curing in the autoclave. But here that is not possible, because you have to do a quick curing, because it is a continuous process. So in that case, this quick curing leads to the effect in the mechanical properties. Next is the complexity of the process, because since various components are involved, there is a complexity involved in the process, because it is a continuous process also. And problems resulting from resin and fibers accumulating at the die entrance has to be avoided. This is one of the important drawback that is observed in the pultrusion molding process. See, if you observe this diagram, this is the place where once the product is given some initial shape with the help of some series of preformers, and before it enters the forming and curing die chamber, it should not create some accumulation of fibers. If there is some accumulation of fibers at the entrance, then it will affect the surface properties and it will create some defects in the products. So that has to be taken care. Pots are resin rich to account for fiber anomalies, strength is sacrificed. This is another drawback. Voids may result in pots if excessive opening is given at the entrance. See, for example, you know very well that when the fiber volume fraction is higher, you will be getting the good mechanical properties. But if you keep the matrix volume fraction very high, where the amount of matrix present is very high when compared to the fibers, in that case what will happen? The strength will get affected, because in all the composites you may not require the high strength. There are composites where you may require the bulk. In that case what will happen? The strength will be affected. Already in the curing chamber you do a rapid curing or a fast curing. So along with that, if you use a resin rich composite, in that case strength will get affected. And another thing at the disadvantage is voids may result in parts if excessive opening is given at the die entrance. See, this is related to the previous problem. In the previous problem what you have seen, when resin or fibers get accumulated at the die entrance, that is once it passes the roving stand pass from pass to the resin tank, absorb the resin, and then move to preformer to get some initial shape in a series of preformers, and it moves to the die entrance. If it goes with the accumulation of fibers, then it creates a problem. So to prevent that problem, what normally people do is they actually enlarge the size of the die entrance. But if you enlarge the size of the die entrance, what will happen is some air also can penetrate and it will create some problem. So in that case, that is not a solution to this problem. So you have to, during the preforming stage itself, you should ensure that the resin and fiber should not get accumulated at the die entrance, so that you have to do the proper quality control during the preforming stage itself before it reaches the die entrance component. Another disadvantage is tapered and complex shapes cannot be produced with this method. So tapered or complex shapes is not possible, only the uniform constant cross section can be produced. And another disadvantage is control of fiber orientation is not possible in the pultrusion system. So this is another disadvantage where you cannot have the control on the fiber orientation. Coming down to applications, what are the products that can be produced from this pultrusion molding process? Products like solid rods, tubing, and the long flat sheets are easily fabricated with the pultrusion process. Simple and constant cross-sectional structural sections such as channels, angled and flanged beams, these can be produced by the pultrusion process. Tool handles for high voltage work, where some tools when you use for a high voltage work during when you operate the electrical things, then there the tool handles can be made by this pultrusion molding process. And third, railway covers for subways, where the lengthy railway covers for subways which is used in subways, that are those things are made by the pultrusion molding process. So here we have come to the end of the lecture. This pultrusion molding process is used mainly for making the long and lengthy and constant cross section type of a product you can make from this pultrusion molding process. So we are I'm ending come to the end of we have come to the end of the lecture. So that's all about the pultrusion molding process. In our next lecture we will see the another process of manufacturing of composites. So thanks for listening. Have a nice day.